It had been 5 years since I'd last seen Naomi, back in that godforsaken summer in Austin, Texas, when everything between us shattered like cheap glass. We'd been 25, wild and reckless, two art school dropouts chasing dreams in the Lone Star State. I was the painter, always lost in canvases of swirling colors that hid the chaos inside, my parents' divorce still fresh, my little sister Lena fighting her first round of treatments with that unbreakable grin. Naomi was the doer, the one who ran into fires while everyone else ran out, her family's legacy of heroism weighing on her like an invisible yoke. We'd met at a dive bar off 6th Street, bonding over cheap tequila and stories of escaping small-town expectations. She with her Tex-Mex roots and that cocky grin, me with my half-Mexican, half-Irish mutt heritage and a sketchbook full of unfinished portraits. Our love was the kind that burned hot and fast, all stolen afternoons in her cramped apartment, her calloused hands tracing the freckles on my shoulders while I whispered poetry into her neck. "You're my anchor, Isla," she'd say, her green eyes locking onto mine like she could see straight through to the girl who'd always felt adrift. But anchors drag you down sometimes. When Lena's cancer relapsed, I poured everything into her, nights at the hospital, begging for miracles while Naomi's shifts pulled her away. She tried, showing up with takeout and tired smiles, but the fight started small. "You're shutting me out." "I'm not, I'm just scared." Then bigger, her promotion to lieutenant meaning more hours, my resentment building like storm clouds. The betrayal came quiet, on a rainy night much like this one, a text from a mutual friend, a photo of Naomi laughing too close to our old roommate, Sarah, at some department barbecue. It wasn't cheating, not really, but it felt like it. The trust we'd built crumbled, and I walked away without a word, packing my brushes and boarding a flight to Spain on a whim, chasing the light of the Alhambra to paint away the pain. Seville welcomed me like an old lover, all sun-drenched plazas and hidden patios where Jasmine climbed the walls. I rented a tiny casita in Triana, the gypsy quarter, and threw myself into murals for the local galleries, capturing the flamenco dancers' fire and the river's lazy bend. Lena visited when she could, her chemo making her frail but her spirit fierce, and we made promises under the orange trees. "When I'm better, we'll road trip the Costa del Sol." Americans dotted the expat scene here, writers nursing sangria, retirees with golf stories, but I kept to myself, dating sporadically, nothing that stuck. Until Naomi showed up last spring, transferred to the local fire station on some international exchange program. Building bridges, she joked when I ran into her at the Mercado de Triana, her basket overflowing with olives and chorizo. I froze, mandarin in hand, the air thick with the scent of fresh bread and betrayal. "What the hell are you doing here?" I'd hissed, my voice barely above the vendor's calls. She shrugged, that infuriating half-smile playing on her lips. "Same as you, I guess. Running from ghosts." We'd circled each other like wary cats since then, polite nods at the Sunday feria, where she'd twirl a Sevillana with some wide-eyed tourist while I'd sketch from the shadows, my pencil digging too hard into the paper. I hated how she looked the same, just sharper around the edges, auburn hair cropped short for the helmet, arms corded from hauling hoses, that tattoo of a phoenix on her forearm peeking from her sleeve like a dare. Hated how my pulse quickened when she'd pass my easel in the plaza, glancing at my latest piece, a woman dancing alone under a blood moon, and murmur, "Still capturing souls, huh?" I'd snap back, "Still playing hero." And she'd laugh, low and rueful, walking away without a fight. It was easier to hate her than admit the ache, the what-ifs that kept me up nights, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. But that night in the rain, with Lena's death echoing in my ears, the hate cracked open like an eggshell. Naomi didn't let go, even as I sobbed into her jacket, the wool rough against my cheek. "Isla," she said softly, one hand rubbing circles on my back, the other shielding us from the sheets of water. "Come on, let's get you inside." I let her lead me, numb and trembling, to her nearby apartment, a converted warehouse loft overlooking the river, all exposed brick and salvaged wood that screamed Naomi, practical but with a poet's heart. She brewed chamomile tea, the steam curling like ghosts between us, and sat across the scarred oak table, her turnout pants still dripping. "Talk to me," she urged, green eyes steady. I couldn't. Not about Lena's last breath in that sterile Barcelona hospital, how I'd held her hand and promised I'd live enough for both of us. Not about the guilt gnawing at me for not being there sooner, for choosing paints over planes one too many times. Instead, I lashed out. "Why do you even care? You left, Naomi. You chose the job, the life, Sarah, or whatever it was." Her face tightened, the lines around her mouth deepening. "It wasn't like that. Sarah was a mistake, a rebound after you ghosted me. I waited for you to fight, Isla. To yell, to anything. But you just vanished." The words hung heavy, the rain pattering against the windows like impatient fingers. I wanted to argue, to hurl the teacup at the wall and watch it shatter, but exhaustion won. "Lena's gone," I whispered finally, the truth spilling out in fragments, her laugh like wind chimes, the way she'd tease me about my flame-haired gringa back home. Naomi listened, chin in hand, and when I trailed off, she reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. Electric. Familiar. Terrifying. "You're not alone in this," she said. "Let me help carry it." I pulled away, standing too fast, the room spinning. "I don't need your pity." But as I grabbed my coat, she was there again, blocking the door with that quiet strength. "It's not pity. It's me, seeing you. Finally." The air thickened, charged like the storm outside, and for a heartbeat, I leaned in, lips parting, breath mingling. Then I shoved past, fleeing into the night, the door clicking shut behind me like a full stop on a sentence neither of us had finished. The funeral was a blur of black veils and murmured condolences in a hillside chapel outside Seville, where the hills rolled gold under a merciless sun. Lena had loved Spain's wild beauty, so we'd buried her facing the Sierra Nevada, a guitar propped in her casket like she'd just stepped off for a siesta. I stood alone at the graveside, the priest's words fading into the cicadas' hum, when Naomi appeared at the edge of the crowd, civilian clothes, a simple button-down rolled to her elbows, bouquet of wild poppies in hand. Our eyes met across the mourners, and something in me fractured further. She didn't approach, just laid the flowers at the stone and slipped away, but later, a note tucked into my rental car, "She'd want you to paint again. Let the colors grieve for you." I didn't paint. For weeks, my casita became a tomb, canvases stacked like accusations, brushes gathering dust. The expat crowd tiptoed around me, Maria the potter dropping off paella, Tom the novelist inviting me to poetry slams I ignored. But Naomi persisted, subtle as the tide. A delivery of Lena's favorite manchego from the market, left on my doorstep with a post-it, "Fuel for the fight." Then, one evening, a knock, her standing there with 2 easels and a bottle of Rioja. "Truce?" she asked, voice tentative. I let her in, the wine loosening tongues and walls. We talked, not about us, not yet, but about Lena's stories, the ones I'd hoarded like treasures. How she'd met a flamenco dancer in Granada and waltzed under the stars, chemo be damned. Naomi shared her own losses, her abuela's passing during a warehouse blaze she'd fought but couldn't win. "Fire takes what it wants," she said, swirling her glass. "But it leaves embers. You learn to cup them close." By midnight, the room hummed with half-finished sketches, Lena's eyes in charcoal, fierce and alive. Naomi's laughter filled the spaces I'd emptied, and when our knees brushed under the table, neither pulled away. It was fragile, this thaw, like frost melting on a windowpane. But as she gathered her things to leave, I caught her wrist. "Stay," I murmured, the word a bridge over the chasm. She did, curling beside me on the worn sofa, her head on my shoulder, the river's murmur lulling us into a sleep that felt like coming home. For the first time in months, I dreamed in color. Dawn crept in like a hesitant confession, painting the casita's white walls in soft pinks and golds. I woke to Naomi's steady breathing, her arm draped across my waist, fingers splayed over the curve of my hip, a map I'd once known by heart. Panic flickered, old habits urging me to bolt, but I stayed, tracing the veins on her forearm, the phoenix tattoo faded but unbowed. She stirred, green eyes blinking open, and for a moment, we just looked, two women in their 30s, scarred by time and choices, suspended in the quiet magic of Triana's morning calls, church bells, market carts rumbling, a distant guitar strumming a solia. "You're staring," she teased, voice husky with sleep, propping on an elbow. Her hair stuck up in defiant tufts, and I reached up, smoothing it down, my thumb lingering on her jaw. "Habit. You always look like trouble in the light." She grinned, leaning in to press a kiss to my forehead, light as a brushstroke. It wasn't passion, not yet, just the gentle reclaiming of space. We rose slowly, brewing café con leche on the tiny stove, sharing slices of pan con tomate while she told me about her exchange, training locals in high-rise protocols, navigating the cultural dance of siestas and bureaucracy. "Spain's teaching me patience," she admitted, dunking bread into her cup. "You always said I rushed everything." I laughed, the sound surprising me, bright, unforced. "And you called my paintings chaos." We spent the day like that, easy rhythms I'd forgotten, wandering the Guadalquivir's banks, her hand brushing mine as we dodged tourists snapping selfies at the Torre del Oro. At the Alcazar Gardens, amid pomegranate trees heavy with fruit, she bought us helado de Turin, the almond sweetness melting on our tongues. "Remember Austin summers?" she asked, licking a drip from her thumb. "Ice cream trucks and lightning storms." I nodded, the memory bittersweet, nights on her fire escape, watching thunderheads roll in, her body warm against mine as rain drummed the metal. "We were kids," I said softly. "Chasing forever. But forever has cracks." That evening, as we sketched side by side in the plaza, her amateur lines capturing a street performer's grace, mine layering shadows on a beggar's lined face, my phone buzzed. An email from back home, the Austin gallery I'd abandoned, forwarding a package from Sarah. "Thought you should have this. Closure." My stomach nodded. Sarah, the ghost between us, the woman whose laugh had haunted my dreams. Naomi noticed, her pencil pausing. "Everything okay?" I forced a smile, pocketing the phone. "Just ghosts." But doubt seated, tiny and insidious, sprouting questions I couldn't voice. The weeks blurred into a tentative rhythm, Naomi weaving into my days like thread through a loom. Mornings at her loft, where she'd cook huevos rotos while I read her the funnies from the International Herald Tribune, her chuckles vibrating against my side. Afternoons in my studio, her posing for portraits, strong lines of her shoulders, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled, vulnerable in repose. We'd walk Triana's Feria streets at dusk, her arm around my waist as couples swayed to banderilleros songs, the air thick with fried churros and unspoken promises. Lovemaking came slow, reverent, hands exploring like rediscovering a favorite book, lips mapping freckles and scars, whispers of, "I missed this," in the dark. It was romantic, yes, candlelit dinners on her balcony overlooking the Triana Bridge, her surprising me with a necklace of amber beads that caught the light like Lena's eyes, but deeper, humanistic. We talked about fears, my terror of loss, her guilt over the calls she couldn't answer. "I want to build something real this time," she said one night, tracing my collarbone. "No running." I believed her. Or tried to. Until the betrayal resurfaced, sharper than before. It started with the package, a worn journal from Sarah, pages filled with sketches of Naomi, intimate, loving, dated from those months after I'd fled. A note inside, "She talked about you endlessly." This was her way of coping. Be kind to her heart. Rage boiled, irrational but fierce. How dare she send this now, dredging up the pain. I confronted Naomi that night, journal thrust into her hands as we stood in my kitchen, the scent of simmering gazpacho turning sour. "You kept this. After everything?" Her face paled, flipping through the pages. Isla, I didn't, Sarah must have. God, I threw this out years ago. But Doubt whispered, the dates overlapped our fights, her late nights at the station. Was it ever real? I demanded, voice breaking. Or was I just the warm-up act? She reached for me, but I recoiled, the journal slapping the counter. It was always you, she insisted, eyes pleading. Sarah was a distraction, a way to numb the hurt you left. I never loved her like I love you. The word hung, raw and exposed, but anger blinded me. Lies. You're the hero, Naomi, saving everyone but me. I stormed out, the door slamming like a guillotine, wandering Seville's labyrinth until dawn, the journal's weight in my bag a leaden anchor. The conflict festered. I avoided her calls, buried myself in work, a commission for the cathedral's restoration, painting saints with eyes like Lena's, fierce and forgiving. Naomi gave space, but signs appeared, a coffee left at my door, a postcard from her abuela's village with a single line, Ember's wait. The expats noticed, Maria pulling me aside at the potter's wheel, Mija, love's not a solo dance. Even Tom, over absent at his reading, quoted Neruda, you can cut all the flowers but you cannot keep spring from coming. I wanted spring, craved it, but trust was a fragile bloom. Climax brewed on All Saints' Day, when fires lit the hills for the dead. I'd gone to the cemetery alone, lighting a vela for Lena, the flame dancing in the wind. As dusk fell, sirens wailed, a brush fire jumping the river, threatening Triana's old wooden patios. My phone exploded, texts from neighbors, then Naomi's voice, urgent, Isla, get to the river. Now. Heart pounding, I ran, the air acrid with smoke, the sky bruising orange. From the bridge, I saw her, helmet on, silhouette against the blaze, directing hoses with that unyielding calm. A gust shifted the flames, embers flying like angry stars, and a patio collapsed in a roar, trapping two souls inside. Naomi charged without hesitation, vanishing into the inferno. Time stretched, eternal. Minutes. Hours. Then she emerged, coughing, dragging an elderly couple to safety, the abuelita clutching her rosary, the abuelo waving thanks through tears. Relief flooded me, but then horror, a beam, loosened by the heat, cracked above her. She turned too late, the world exploding in slow motion. I screamed her name, shoving through the crowd, but volunteers held me back. She's got it, one yelled. And she did, diving clear, rolling into the mud, alive but shaken. The fire was contained by midnight, cheers rising like incense, but I couldn't move, rooted to the spot until she limped toward me, soot-streaked and grinning through the pain. Told you I save everyone. I launched into her arms, the crowd blurring, my face buried in her chest once more, the acrid smoke mixing with her sweat, her heartbeat a thunder under my ear. Don't you dare, I sobbed, fists clutching her jacket. Don't leave me again. She held me tight, whispering into my hair, never. Promise. The firefighters clapped her back, but she waved them off, leading me away to the river's edge, where we sat on the damp stones, the water lapping like a lullaby. I was wrong, I confessed, the journal forgotten in the chaos. About Sarah, about us. Fear made me blind. She nodded, bandaging a gash on her hand with a strip from her shirt. Me too. I should have fought harder, chased you to Spain that first week. We sat in silence, the night's embers fading, and in that humanistic grace, the raw admission of flaws, something healed. Winter settled over Seville like a velvet shawl, the chill nipping at our heels as we rebuilt. No grand gestures, just the quiet work of lovers learning to trust again, Naomi's shifts ending with her slipping into my studio, collapsing onto the daybed with a sigh, me massaging the knots from her shoulders while she recounted the day's close calls, not the heroics, but the human bits, like the kid who'd drawn her a thank you crayon on construction paper. I'd share my canvases, the saints now alive with Lena's spark, one a guardian angel with Naomi's determined jaw, another a dancer mid-twirl, arms outstretched like an embrace. "You're weaving us in," she'd say, awe in her voice, and I'd kiss her temple, murmuring, "Had to. You're my palette now." Betrayal's shadow lingered, but we faced it head-on. One rainy afternoon, over manzanilla in her loft, I handed her the journal. "Burn it," I said, "no venom left." She did, in the fireplace we'd rigged from terracotta tiles, the pages curling to ash as we watched, hands entwined. "To new stories," she toasted, clinking her glass to mine. We wrote our own then, letters sealed with wax, hidden in each other's pockets. "I choose you, every shift, every storm. Mine to her, your fire lights my dark." It was romantic, achingly so, but grounded in the everyday, grocery runs where she'd sneak chorizo into my vegetarian cart, teasing, "Live a little dangerously," nights at the tableau, her two left feet stomping beside my fluid steps, laughter drowning the guitar's wail. Spring unfurled in riots of azure, the orange blossoms perfuming the air like hope. Lena's birthday fell on a feria weekend, and we honored her our way, a pilgrimage to Ronda, where the cliffs plunged like her bold spirit. We picnicked on the edge, manchego and membrillo spread on a blanket, Naomi reading from a dog-eared copy of Lorca, Poems of Duende, that raw Andalusian soul. "She'd love this," I said, tears pricking as the wind whipped my hair. Naomi pulled me close, her chin on my head. "She does." Watching from the clouds, probably critiquing my picnic skills. We laughed through the grief, the sun gilding the gorge below, and later, in a cliffside parador, we made love slow and deep, bodies a conversation of forgiveness, her hands reverent on my curves, my lips charting the map of her scars. "I love you," I breathed, the words a vow. "Always have." She smiled, green eyes shining. "Then let's make it forever." But drama has a way of circling back, testing the seams. Naomi's exchange ended in June, a return ticket to Austin looming like a guillotine. "The department needs me," she explained over paella at our favorite spot in the Barrio Santa Cruz, the air heavy with saffron and sorrow. "But you. We could make it work." Visits, calls. My fork clattered, appetite fleeing. Long distance. After all this. The old fear surged, loss, the void of empty beds and unanswered rings. "I'm tired of half-lives, Naomi." She reached across the checkered cloth, calluses rough on my knuckles. "This isn't half. It's us, building something that bends, not breaks." Arguments followed, heated walks along the Alcazar walls where tourists milled oblivious, our voices low but laced with desperation. "Stay," I pleaded one night, rain lashing the windows again. "Spain's home now." "Texas is family," she countered, though her eyes begged otherwise. "But you're my heart." The climax crested on the summer solstice, Seville's streets alive with Corpus Christi processions, candles flickering like stars fallen to earth. I'd spent the day in turmoil, packing phantom suitcases in my mind, when a call came, not from Naomi, but the Austin Gallery. "Isla, we've got a show for you, solo, in the fall. Your Spain series. It's electric." Elation warred with dread, success meant leaving, chasing the light that had led me here. I found Naomi at the station, washing the rig under the moon's silver gaze, her uniform streaked with the day's grime. "I got the offer," I blurted, words tumbling. "But if I go, we end." She straightened, wrench clattering to the concrete, and crossed to me in 3 strides, cupping my face. "Or we begin. Come home with me. We'll paint fires, fight shadows together." Tears came hot and fast, my hands fisting her shirt. "I can't lose you again." She pulled me in, the garage echoing our ragged breaths. "You won't." "I'm all in, Isla, fire, art, the mess of it." We stood there, fused, as the city chanted its ancient songs outside, the weight of choice lifting like smoke. In the end, it was humanistic resolution, no tidy bows, but a promise forged in compromise. I'd take the show, a 3-month stint in Austin, and she'd request an extension here, bridging our worlds. East meets West, she joked, kissing my knuckles. Like us. We left Seville in September, the Guadalquivir shimmering farewell as our train rattled north. Austin welcomed us with its familiar sprawl, barbecue smoke and live oaks draped in Spanish moss, but Spain lingered in our bones, amber necklace around my neck, her phoenix tattoo now inked with a tiny olive branch. The opening night was magic, my canvases alive on the walls, flames and rivers intertwining, Naomi in the crowd with that proud grin, toasting with Shinerbach instead of Rioja. To embers, she whispered later, in our old apartment dusted off for the occasion, bodies tangled in sheets that smelled of home. Life settled into a new canvas, her shifts balanced with my residencies, weekends road-tripping the hill country, painting wildflowers while she hiked ahead, calling back stories of cacti sentinels. We adopted a rescue mutt, a scruffy terrier we named Soul, who curled between us on stormy nights. Betrayals faded to footnotes, conflicts to conversations, therapy sessions where we unpacked the baggage, emerging lighter. And love. It deepened, romantic in stolen glances across crowded rooms, emotional in the quiet holds after bad days. On our first anniversary, marking that rainy catch in Seville, we returned, just for a week, dancing under Triana's lanterns, Lena's spirit in every sway. In the end, it was a tragedy or unalloyed joy, but the human in between, two women, flawed and fierce, choosing each other amid the fires. I buried my face in her chest that last night in Spain, inhaling smoke and jasmine, and whispered, "Thank you for catching me." She held tighter, heartbeat steady. Always, Isla. Every fall.